Now!
Imagine this, Halloween night in Rhode Island. Cold air biting, moonlight sliding over the courthouse steps, and a crowd gathering for an auction unlike any other. People weren't there for land. They weren't there for profit. They were there to see who had the courage, or the stupidity, to place the winning bid on the most haunted house in America, the Conjuring Farmhouse, built in the 1700s, claimed by countless ghost stories, tied to deaths, disappearances, even exorcisms. And tonight it was going under the hammer. The auctioneer, an older man in a black suit with a crooked smile, stood before the crowd. His voice cracked through the night like thunder. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to history. The Conjuring House is yours, if you dare. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some laughed nervously, clutching their coffees. Others shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting toward the farmhouse in the distance, its windows black as empty sockets. The bidding started small, 100,000, 150, 200. Each time a hand lifted, the auctioneer's grin grew wider, as though he wasn't selling a property, but something far more permanent. At the back, a young couple, James and Claire, locked eyes. They'd saved for years, hunting for a place to start over. A fixer-upper, a chance to breathe new life into old walls. To them, this wasn't just a house. It was their future. James raised his hand. 250. The crowd turned, a low gasp cutting through the autumn air. The bidding jumped higher, 275, 300, 320. But James didn't back down. Claire squeezed his arm, whispering, "Are you sure?" He nodded, determined. Finally silence. All eyes on them. The auctioneer's gavel hovered, his voice dropping into something almost inhuman. Sold. To the brave souls in the back. The gavel slammed. Cheers and nervous laughter followed, but James and Claire didn't smile. The moment the gavel struck wood, the wind shifted. Cold, heavy, the courthouse lights flickered, buzzing like dying insects. A murmur ran through the crowd. Something had changed. The auctioneer shuffled forward, holding out a contract. The paper looked wrong, too thick, too red, and the ink wasn't quite ink. It shimmered like blood in the moonlight. Claire hesitated. "What kind of contract is this?" The auctioneer's crooked smile deepened. "Standard deed. Nothing unusual, just sign. And the house is yours." James, stubborn and eager, scrawled his name across the page. Claire followed, her hand shaking as she signed beside him. The paper pulsed. For a moment, only a heartbeat, it felt warm, alive. Claire pulled back, her breath catching in her throat. The auctioneer snapped the contract shut. "Congratulations. The house has found its owners." And in the distance, far down the dark road, the farmhouse windows glowed faintly, as if the house itself had been waiting for this moment. The moving truck groaned up the long dirt road, headlights bouncing off twisted trees. By the time James and Claire pulled into the driveway, the sky was black. The Conjuring Farmhouse loomed in front of them. 2 stories of rotting wood and silent windows. It didn't look welcoming. It looked hungry. James forced a smile. "It's just a house. 4 walls, a roof. That's all." Claire didn't answer. She kept staring at the upstairs window. For a second, she thought she saw someone standing there. A woman, pale in old-fashioned clothes. But when she blinked, the window was empty. Inside, the air was heavy, like stepping into a basement that hadn't been opened in years. Dust swirled in their flashlight beams. Floorboards creaked with every step, as if the house was aware of them. They dropped their bags in the living room, too tired to unpack. The power flickered once, then steadied, casting a weak yellow glow through the halls. Claire lit a candle anyway. At midnight, the noises began. A soft thud upstairs, then another. James grabbed a flashlight. Old house. Wood settles. That's all it is. But when he climbed the stairs, the sound followed him, shifting, moving from one side of the hall to the other, always just out of reach. He opened each door. Empty rooms, empty closets, empty air. Claire stayed downstairs, hugging the candle like a shield. The flame wavered, though there was no draft. she whispered. "We're not alone." Then came the whisper. It slithered out of the darkness, soft, broken, but clear enough to freeze her blood. "Leave or stay forever." Claire's candle went out. She screamed for James. He rushed back down. But before he could reach her, the front door slammed shut on its own, the lock clicking into place. The house trembled, walls groaning as if something massive shifted inside the wood. James tried the door. Stuck. He pulled, kicked, slammed his shoulder against it. Nothing. Claire pointed at the hallway mirror. "James, look!" In the glass, their reflections weren't alone. Behind them stood a woman, dressed in colonial clothes, her eyes hollow, her face pale as bone. Her hand rested on Claire's shoulder, though Claire felt nothing. James spun around. No one there, only the mirror showing the truth. The lights flickered, once, twice, then darkness swallowed the house. Silence pressed down like a weight. Then, footsteps, slow, heavy, descending the stairs that should have been empty. Each step groaned, closer, closer. James lifted the flashlight. The beam cut through the dark, landing on the staircase. Nothing. Until the last step creaked. And in that final second before the light sputtered out, they saw her, standing on the stairs, head tilted, eyes burning with something older than hate. The house had welcomed its new family. Morning light crept through the broken shutters. But it didn't chase the fear away. James brewed coffee on a portable stove, pretending everything was normal. Claire sat silent, her eyes fixed on the mirror across the room. She hadn't slept. James forced a laugh. First night jitters. Old houses make noise. That's all. But when he reached for the mug, it slid across the counter by itself, shattering on the floor. Claire jumped. "Still think it's jitters?" James didn't answer. He swept up the glass, but even as he bent down, he noticed something strange. The shards rearranged themselves, letters. A word spelled out across the floor. "Stay." The temperature dropped. Breath misted in the kitchen. James shoved the shards into the trash, refusing to look at Claire. "It's just our nerves." They spent the day trying to settle in, but the house fought back. Nails bent as James hammered them into the wall. Fresh paint peeled in strips seconds after the brush touched wood. Boxes unpacked themselves. Items scattered across the floor as if thrown by invisible hands. By evening, Claire opened the deed to double-check the property lines. Her breath caught. "James, look at this." The names on the contract weren't just theirs anymore. New names had appeared, faded at first, then sharpening into dark red letters. Past owners, dates, every single one marked deceased. And at the very bottom, their names. But next to Claire's name, a faint word flickered into existence. "Soon." She dropped the paper, her voice cracking. "James, this isn't a house. It's a trap." That night, the resistance grew violent. Furniture scraped across the floors on its own. Doors slammed without warning. Every attempt to leave the house ended the same. The door would lock, or the windows would jam tight. At one point, James threw the front door open with all his strength. For a second, fresh air flooded in. He shouted, "Run!" Claire sprinted forward, only to crash into solid wood. The doorway had vanished. In its place was just a wall, smooth and seamless. Her hands trembled against it. "James, it doesn't want us to leave." The floorboards groaned beneath them. A deep throbbing sound, almost like a heartbeat. The walls shuddered. The entire house seemed alive, breathing, shifting, waiting. Then upstairs, footsteps, heavy, deliberate, pacing back and forth. Claire clutched James's arm. "If it resists us this hard in daylight, what happens when the sun goes down?" The house creaked again, louder, answering her question. And for the first time, James didn't try to explain it away. He just stared at the ceiling, jaw tight, realizing the truth. The Conjuring House didn't need fixing, it needed feeding. By the third night, James was done pretending. The house wasn't just haunted. It was alive, twisting itself around them, sealing exits, bending reality. Claire refused to sleep, her eyes hollow, her voice barely above a whisper. Finally, James snapped. "We're finding that auctioneer, tonight." They drove back into town, headlights cutting through fog. The courthouse loomed ahead, dark except for one office window glowing faintly on the second floor. Inside, they found the auctioneer at his desk, pen scratching across papers that looked far too familiar. He didn't look surprised when they burst in. In fact, he smiled. My new residence. I was wondering when you'd visit." James slammed the cursed deed onto the desk. "What the hell is this? Our names keep changing. Other names show up. Dead people. What game are you playing?" The auctioneer leaned back, eyes glittering in the dim light. "No game, a cycle. That house doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to itself." Claire stepped forward, voice shaking. "Then why sell it? Why trick people?" His smile widened, revealing teeth too sharp for any human mouth. "Because the house demands new caretakers. It feeds on them. Every signature, every bid, binds fresh blood to its walls." James's hands clenched. You knew what it would do to us." The auctioneer shrugged. "Of course. But you wanted it. You raised your hand. You begged for the winning bid. The house doesn't take the unwilling. It takes the eager." Claire's chest tightened. "We never begged. We just wanted a home." He leaned closer, his voice dropping, almost a hiss. "And the house wants residents who will never leave. Look at the contract. Really look." They did. And in the margins, what they once thought were stains, they saw faces. Dozens of faces screaming silently, mouths open in eternal agony. Past owners etched into the parchment like prisoners. Claire staggered back, bile rising in her throat. "Dear God." The auctioneer chuckled, low and cruel. "God has no business in that house. Only the dead, and soon only you." James grabbed Claire's arm, dragging her toward the door, but it slammed shut before they reached it. The office darkened, the light bulbs popping one by one. Only the glow of the cursed contract lit the room. The auctioneer's voice grew louder, echoing unnaturally. "Every owner believes they can fight it. Every owner believes they'll be different. But the house is patient. It always wins." Claire screamed as the contract burst into flame, yet didn't burn to ash. The faces inside writhed, their mouths moving, whispering the same word over and over. "Stay." The fire spread, climbing the walls, licking the ceiling. But the auctioneer stood calm, untouched. His eyes locked on James and Claire. And with a voice that rattled the windows, he whispered, "You don't own the house. The house owns you." The ride back to the farmhouse was silent. James gripped the wheel like it was the only thing holding him to reality. Claire sat frozen, clutching the burned deed. The flames from the auctioneer's office had vanished the moment they'd left, but the faces etched in the parchment were still moving, still whispering. By the time they reached the house, the sky was ink black. No stars, no moon. The farmhouse stood waiting, every window glowing faintly, as though it knew they were coming home. James killed the engine. "We're leaving. Bags, car, we're gone." Claire shook her head. "You saw what happened in town. You can't just walk away." He grabbed her hand. "Watch me." They ran for the car again, doors slamming, engine roaring to life. Gravel sprayed as James floored the gas. The headlights tore down the dirt road. Freedom ahead, until the fog rolled in, thick, blinding. When it cleared, Claire's scream shattered the silence. The farmhouse was in front of them. James cursed, jerking the wheel. He spun the car down another road, faster this time. Trees blurred past, tires screaming on the asphalt. The fog swallowed them whole, then spat them out again. And there it was. The same driveway, the same house, waiting. Claire's voice cracked. It won't let us leave. The car died. Engine silent. Lights out. The only sound was the heartbeat thrum of the house itself. The front door creaked open on its own. James and Claire staggered out of the car, dragged forward as if by invisible chains. Their feet hit the porch. The door yawned wider, breathing cold air into their faces. Inside, the living room was lit, not by lamps, but by candles. Hundreds of them lining the floor, the furniture, the stairs. At the center sat the auctioneer, smiling. On the table in front of him lay a new contract, fresh, blank, waiting. His voice echoed unnaturally. The bidding never ends. The house always claims its price. James shook his head. We're not signing anything. The auctioneer's smile didn't falter. You already did. Every door you opened, every step you took, every night you stayed. The house wrote your names long before the ink dried. The candles flickered. Behind James and Claire, the door slammed shut, sealing them inside. The contract pulsed. Their names appeared at the top, carved in blood-red ink. And beneath them, new words formed. Final payment. Claire sobbed, backing away, but the floor split open. Hands, gray, rotted, skeletal, shot out, grabbing her ankles, dragging her down. James lunged, screaming her name, but more hands clawed at him, pulling, tearing. The auctioneer leaned forward, whispering over their screams. Sold forever. The house roared like a living beast, the walls shaking, the candles blowing out one by one. When the last flame died, silence fell. The contract lay on the table. Two more faces now etched into the parchment, screaming silently with the rest. Outside, the porch light flickered on. A new auction sign appeared in the yard. For sale. Halloween auction. And the Conjuring House waited for its next winning bid. Subscribe for more horror stories, haunted house mysteries, and dark paranormal legends. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next scare.